And this is what happened. He fell down into something?
Is he what?
Did he fall down into something?
Yes.
Did he drown?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very tingly now, so obviously we have him. He says there was a lot of things going on around him.
A lot. Yes, ma'am.
A lot of upheaval.
Yes, ma'am.
And some people may even have, well, hold on. I'm hearing the word justice, so I'm almost like some people, I don't ascribe to that kind of a thing, but that some people might have been saying something like that. There was too many things going on
Yes.
for you to pay attention. You had your mind on other things. There was a lot of stress in your life.
Yes.
You've not gotten over it. You still blame yourself.
I miss Mama.
You feel you had not taken steps to make sure he was safe. You were negligent. And in this, you feel that you should be punished forever.
I feel that way.
Mothers are, I'm feeling very tingly now. Let's see what this is. Mothers are always the ones who take on all the blame. They feel in their hearts and their souls that they are the ones who are obligated for the lives of the children they bring into this world. This is not true. Mothers are released from their suffering when they realize that they are eternal beings, and so are their children. We are always here. We cannot leave you. We love you, and we will be around. He speaks of we. We will be around. Would there be a reason for that? Why he says we? Is there another child, a miscarriage, anything?
I've had a couple miscarriages.
That's why. We are the ones who love you. So he's speaking as a group. Wow. So there's others there as well. You are associated with other souls, or other souls are associated with you. And I'm very, very tingly now. Very tingly. I'm just getting waves. So you need to understand that and this happens quite a bit in my sessions, everybody who's been pregnant, a soul is associated with that. And even though it results in an abortion or a miscarriage, it doesn't matter which one, they have identified with you, your energy, and that allows them to stay close to you, vibrationally close. And they can then they also can act as guides and share they're complete souls, they're mature souls. But they can appear to you as children or as adults. This is the same for him. He says he can appear to you in either way. For upon returning, he is returned to his pure soul state, and that allows him to appear in different forms. Don't take what others say to heart. They don't understand. He's very, very emphatic about that. There are too many who do not understand how this works, and they therefore spread soul suffering. So there are many who will try to counsel you or comfort you or just take their own stuff out on you. And this can actually result in more confusion because they don't understand about the eternal nature of soul. They don't understand that we each pick our own path. They don't understand that I chose that life. We chose it together before I came in. And had this not happened, you would not be here. We would not be communicating. Have you ever gone to a medium before to try to connect with him?
There's another group where there was someone who offered a reading, but it was more like you just submit a picture and then later she'll send you back a text, you know, kind of a thing, but not necessarily nothing like this. And I don't even know how true, you know, I don't know.
Okay.
I just, you know,
All right.
it was
Okay. I just asked you.
nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've never nothing like this though.
Okay.
But yes,
Well, he triggered something in you, he says. He got you to, this caused you to look at things you wouldn't have looked at otherwise.
yes,
This allows you to become more in tune with your own soul essence, and this will allow you to grow, to expand, and to become a more perfect being, that is to say, a more perfect expression of love and light. He's saying something about jumping into the water that he had not expected to leave at that time. He was thinking that he was just going to float to the top, and so he must have gone in deliberately.
I think so. We were all there, but my back was to him, and he jumped right at where the water, you know, where it slopes, and just out of his reach to touch. And he didn't know he was at that spot.
Okay.
And we didn't see him. The water was murky, and we didn't see him.
Okay.
But I was close.
Okay, so he did jump in. He didn't just fall in. All right. He is expressing how sorry he is that you had to go through all this suffering. This is part of the human condition. You cannot escape it, for it is through this type of separation anxiety that you come to understand the fullness of your purpose. For you cannot have love, the experience of love, and appreciate it without knowing what it is to be without it. This will enhance your total understanding. As you come to understand, you will understand that sorrow, grief is not suffering. It's just sorrow and grief. You just experience it. You don't dwell on it. This is natural. As natural as laughter. When you laugh and then you let it go. Same with tears and grief. You cry, you grieve, and you let it go. I didn't know enough to tell you that I loved you before I left. This is something that weighs upon my soul. How old was he?
He had just turned 5.
Okay. I was kind of getting an image of 4, so he just turned 5. All right. He had a birthday cake, he said.
Yes.
Birthday party. There were others there, he said. I think there were relatives there.
Yes.
Something about a hat. Were there any kind of hats at the birthday party?
Maybe. Oh, I think I do remember party hats. I think I do remember that we all put on a party hat and had cake before we went to the zoo.
Was it kind of a cone-shaped party hat?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I'm seeing. Okay.
Yes. I think I do remember.
They were remarkable, he says, very remarkable. We all had such a good time. I loved it. I laughed. I liked the animals. We were all together, my mother, my family, and I.
Yes.
She was so happy in that moment. I shall treasure that moment forever, for she was happy. I guess there were a lot of times when he was seeing you when you weren't so happy. And she told me that we had to go home. And I was like, he was sad when you had to go home. It's like pulling your hand. You have to go home now. It's time to go home. And he says, that's what happened. I went home. That's all he said. I just went home. It was time to go home. Treasure these moments, for they are the special ones that we will keep with us forever, and very, very tingly. Just remembering those happy memories. Every time you pull them up, it'll make you feel good. Remember how much I loved you. Remember how I held your hand. Did you take him like to school or daycare or something?
No,
You took him,
I homeschooled him, but I was always grabbing him and kissing him, grabbing his
you took him
hands.
somewhere because you're holding his hand, taking him somewhere where he's going to be left. Does that ring any bells at all?
For his birthday, we went to the zoo. The day that he's talking about on his birthday that we had to leave, we were at the zoo.
No, you had his hand and you're taking him somewhere. And you're telling him you'll be right back, but you're going to leave him. So I don't know if it, did you take him to somebody's house or somebody's...
Well, yeah, there were a couple times that he was babysat.
And you took him to somebody
That
else's...
I left him. There was a family that babysat him, regularly. The few times that we did actually go out and needed a babysitter, it was always this family, and they talk about him often.
Well, I see you holding his hand in front of a door. And
maybe at his grandma's. Even
there's
would go to his grandma's
sense that you're going to be leaving him there for a little bit.
Sometimes I would leave him at his grandma's while I went shopping. I would go grocery shopping. Grandma was in town, so I would go, that way I could just go by myself.
Okay, well, there's something about it that's comforting, that you are holding his hand and taking him someplace. And he knows he's going to be left there, but you've got his hand, you're comforting him. It's comforting to him that you convey to him this strong emotional connection that sees him through.
Okay.
It's just it's a memory to him that he cherishes, that feeling of you being there for him. You took his hand when and held him and comforted him before he went, because even leaving a kid with someone, especially if they've been with you all the time, leaving them with a relative can be a little bit anxious.
Right.
Anxiety for them. But you were there to comfort him, he says. And this was, hold on. This was something that I remember, for she told me that I didn't need to worry, she'd be right back, and I could depend on her. I want to tell her that same thing with me. You can depend on me. I'm right back. Is there a name like Jess, Jer, or something? It's a J name.
Yes, there is a J name.
What is that?
John.
Who's John?
His little brother.
And do you call him John?
Yeah, John or Jonathan.
Let me see what he's trying to tell me. Is there someone else who might have a J name? Jeff, Jess, Jim, J. It's a J sound. Could be John, but I'm not getting the tingles to validate John, so. Did you ever call John Johnny?
Yes, we do. Every now and then, yeah. As lately, John's even been referring to himself as Johnny a little bit more.
Okay, right now, Johnny's the one he's talking about. Let's see. Johnny has taken on his identity. He wasn't sure that he wanted to stay, but now he's stepped into his role. So I don't know how old Johnny is. 2, 3, 2. How old's Johnny?
He's 7.
7, so he's older now.
Yeah. 7, yeah.
But he was young when he left?
I was pregnant with him.
Okay.
I was pregnant with John.
Okay, let me see what's going on there. I hear that Johnny didn't know if he wanted to stay. He was debating it when he came. There was a lot of struggles at that point. You were overcome with grief. There was just a lot of issues.
Yes, there were some feeding issues, and partly due to grief. It was touch and go.
So he wasn't bonding well. I'm feeling like he's feeling like maybe he doesn't belong. It's not a good time.
There in the beginning, yeah, and even probably for John's first year, there was.
Yeah,
I had a hard time.
The first weeks can be critical.
Yes, the first weeks were scary with the feeding. It got kind of scary, but even the emotional. I remember the moment that we clicked, and he was about a year old. You know, emotionally, there was, just suffice it to say, there was a moment that I know that it happened.
All right. Well, here's the thing that most people don't realize is when kids come in here, they plump into this world, and if they don't get all that tight, mostly breastfeeding is really important because it helps them know they belong and bond. And many don't get that. I know when I was a baby, I just had my bottle propped. You know, I was the 9th of 15 kids, so they didn't have any time for me. But
John rejected my milk. I tried to nurse him, and he rejected it flat out.
He may have been feeling the emotional distance. So what happens is they come in and they look around and they go, "Oh my God, where am I?"
Right.
Because they have to go through this phase. Remember where they've come from. And so that initial bonding, emotional bonding, is so important. They're so sensitive to the vibrations. Doesn't mean they don't get through it. But I think that's what he's talking about. When John came, he wasn't sure he wanted to stay.
Right. I could see
he wasn't sure this was for him.
Now, you know.
He says he took it hard when it happened to me. He knew all about it. He was privy to it because he was aware. He was, when you're pregnant, they're still aware of what's going on all around you.
I've always wondered.
Yeah, they are. This is a disappearing act, he says, when we come through the birth canal. We become locked into our bodies. And prior to that, you can come and go. So the disappearing act is you sort of disappear into your body and you lose contact with other realms.
Wow. I've always wondered. That's fascinating.
This is why we have such a difficult time communicating from here with the bigger expanded self, if you will, the greater awareness, the bigger consciousness, the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. There are so many here who are lost, he says. There are so many who cannot find their way, for they have forgotten who they are. And this is why we do this. We attempt to reach our loved ones to reassure them that we continue, that life doesn't end when the body stops functioning here. That is merely a transitional point where we go through a doorway. So you sort of disappear into the body and then you come back out.
Okay.
I'd love to talk more about this with you. We can always connect in the heart. You can talk to me and I will listen. I am here. I have not gone very far. He does tell me there's someone else you need to think about, and it's another J name. And that's the one that I wasn't getting, Jess or Jess something. So think about another J name. It may have some significance. Let me see if I can get any more clues. Is your father still here?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Is there someone associated with him?
My father's father has passed away.
What's his name?
Sam.
There's someone else. I don't know who it is. I don't know what maybe someday it'll make sense to you. I don't know.
I don't know a lot of people on my dad's side, so.
Okay. I'm getting Jess, Jerry, Jeff, something in there like that. Something could sound like that. And I'm also hearing James, and I know that's James, but let me see, why is there James?
Jason? No, Jason's not passed.
But is he here? Who is Jason? Doesn't have to be someone passed.
Jason is a cousin.
But not significant in the story?
We were close when we were growing up, but no. He's he's a lost soul in general.
He's struggling with alcohol?
Addiction in general. Probably everything under the sun.
Yeah, addiction.
He's in his 40s and has still tangled up with the law, and stuff, but I don't even know what state he's in or anything anymore. I haven't seen him in years. I don't, that's the only other J I can think of is all, I can't think of any J's.
I hear Jason is struggling to come to terms with Jesus. He's having a spiritual revival or religious revival or something.
That would be wonderful.
Event in his life where he may, he may not do it, but he's got a struggle going on there. So somebody must be leading him or something.
Well, I'll pray for him.
Which is why I have mentioned him. For I want you to understand that no matter how far down we are, we can always come up.
Right.
There are no lost souls, he says.
Wow.
This is what I want you to understand. So he must be getting into what you're thinking and to try to use this as an example. I don't know. This can hardly be easy for you to understand this, he says. However, if you can lower your expectations, that is to say, if you can come into union with your heart and not your mind. Do you have addiction in your family?
Yes.
So I'm hearing James say he was struggling with the knowledge that he himself would become privy to addiction, Pete stated.
I wondered, they'd say, or there's a Bible verse that says sometimes people die young to save them from a fate worse than death. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist. And I always wondered because there is a lot of that on both sides of the genetics,
Feeling very tingly, so he's acknowledging that. Very tingly.
Wow. That brings me a lot of comfort.
There are many, he says, just explains to you. There are many that are lost. But the lost ones are not necessarily the ones we think are lost. The lost are the ones who condemn and judge them.
Sure.
For we are one, and what we condemn in another, we condemn in ourselves. We do not understand that these others are merely pointing us to the faults within ourselves.
Wow.
Therefore, if you would help yourself and help me to spread the word, be kind. Be kind to all those who cross your path and know that they are there for a reason. They are there to help you light the way. For you are, and this is your sole purpose for being, is to be an expression of love. This can happen in many ways. Please do not think to be an expression of love you must comply with certain regulations. There are no regulations. It is totally free. This is the nature of free will, that you can do and be whatever you want and whatever you desire. And in so doing, you are following the dictates of your own heart, your own conscience, your own soul. If you listen to others who tell you what you should do or be, then you have turned aside from your own heart, your own soul, and from God.
Wow.
You are one with us. You are one with all that is. And when you lose your connection, you feel lost. When you find your connection, you are found. The connection is through the heart. There is no desire that you have that is not divine, for you are being instructed from your own being as to the path you need to follow in order to find your way home. It is possible to do so even while you are here. You can find happiness here. There's much. He wants to reassure you that where he is, everything is fine. He's good. There's lots of love, very tingly. So he wants to make sure I get that in for you to reassure you that there's just love and happiness where he is. What he's trying to tell you is that same feeling can exist here,
Right.
but it's confused. People are confused because there's so many voices telling them who and what they're supposed to be that they lose connection with their own heart.
Right.
And your heart is that's where you're instructed from your source as to what you should be and who should be. And sometimes it tells you to take paths that others don't agree with. This is where the courage comes in, to be yourself no matter what, and to realize that you are always good. There is no way that you can ever cut yourself off from your God source. It's impossible. You can just think you are.
Wow.
Okay, so we're pretty much up on 30 minutes past, so let's see if he has any final words. Do you have any questions for him?
For you or for James?
For James. For James.
I am curious if he checks on his siblings.
He's laughing, of course. They even see him. They have interacted. And so there is someone, a girl?
They're all girls.
They're always
Except for
except
yes.
for Johnny. All girls? Well, there is a girl
All.
that might be a little more sensitive than the others. Let me see what he's saying. She has seen him and talked to him. Is she younger than him? Is there one younger than him?
There's two younger than him.
Okay. What ages are they now?
4 and 5 months.
4-year-old probably.
She did something. She's the one that did something yesterday that mimicked the exact conversation I had with James the day that he passed.
Really? What did she do?
Well, the morning before we went to the pool that day, James came and brought a children's Bible, and as if he had been talking to someone in the other room, and I was busy cooking for the barbecue. And he said, did you know God made the earth and the moon and the stars? And I said, he sure did, and he made you too. And he said, he did? And he took his book and he ran in the other room, and I thought, why does it feel like someone's talking to him, or like he's relaying information, he's going to tell somebody? But I was caught up with cooking, and I was pregnant, and I was stressed, and and I let it go. And so yesterday, that 4-year-old Gracie, she came up to me holding a different children's Bible, but the same gist of the beginning. And she said, did you know God made the planets, even Jupiter and Pluto? And so it was similar, but, not in any way. And I kind of got a chill, and a little bit afraid, like, oh gosh, is the same thing happening again, and that's how I saw your post.
Yeah.
I went to that group and I posted what happened, and I thought, my rational brain knows that this isn't repeating itself, but it just makes that fear happen, And so people even suggested that it could be a sign from James, and I thought, oh, I had never considered that. I never once considered that.
Well, let me see what he says. He says she is absolutely correct. This was a sign for me. It was some preparation for her before coming here.
Wow.
So I don't know if it had anything to do with you also deciding you wanted to try to connect with him. I have always been here. I talk to her. He talks to Grace, and she hears him. And that makes
Nice.
sense because she's at that age when you can hear.
Right.
And you still can connect. And he probably was connecting as well. Let me see what he says. He says, Jess is the one we talk to. Jess. So there's still that Jess word. Let me see what he means by that. Jess is the one we talk to. She is talking to him too.
Jess.
It might be just a spirit or guide on the other side. Let me see. Jess is allowed to talk to us, for he is very powerful. Jess can talk to any of us. He wants us to know that we are loved and that we can always come home when we are ready. You don't need to worry. She's not ready to come home. It was my time. She is simply here to spread the word. You should allow her to talk, comfort her, reassure her, allow her to share with you her stories without stifling them, without shutting her down.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find out more about this Jess. Jess might be someone you know. He has had many lifetimes. Came to me when I was a young boy and told me things. Jess does not like to be thought of as somebody special. He wants you to just think of him as his friend, your friend. Jess is one you talk to all the time. You don't know you're talking to him. You're talking to him. He is here now. He is willing to talk to you. He's willing to hear you. He's holding out his hand, but you must be the one to take it. He can't force you to take it. He can call, but you must answer. This is the one. This is the one that you know by the name of Jesus. I call him Jess. There are always those who will doubt. That is okay, for they are not ready to hear the truth. The truth is that we are all connected, and we can all be connected to the source of life and of goodness. Do not think it is strange, for many have heard his call, and many have responded, and many turn away because they are afraid. They think that they are not good enough. We are always good enough. We are all together. This is our friend. Please think of him as a friend and not as a God. Do you understand?
I do. I do.
Jess will be with you. I am here too, and we're all together and we're talking. And when Gracie talks, you are to remember that her name is Grace.
Okay.
Take care of yourself, my mother. I will be here for you when you need me. Feel free to call. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So I am going to hang up.